Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. A pregnant woman has been charged with the murder of Cork toddler Santina Cawley. Ryanair has been granted an injunction preventing pilots from going on strike this week. Waterford Junior Minister John Halligan says the school transport system is creaking. And in sport, a committee has been formed to select the new Waterford senior hurling manager. A 35-year-old woman has been charged with the murder of 2-year-old Santina Cawley in Cork last month. Karen Harrington, who's 4.5 months pregnant, appeared before a special sitting of Cork District Court this morning. Cork's 96 FM reporter Fiona Corcoran was there.
Detective Garda Cormac Crotty told the court that he arrested Karen Harrington at an address at Lakelands Crescent, Mahon, just before 8 o'clock this morning. She was taken to the Bridewell Garda station where she was charged with the murder of Santina Cawley at Elderwood Park, Boreen Manor Road on July 5th last. After being cautioned, she replied, "I don't understand why I'm getting charged. I didn't murder no one." Solicitor Paula McCarthy said that given the nature of the charge, a bail application could not be made today as it would have to be dealt with in the High Court, and she applied for a week's adjournment. She also asked that Karen Harrington, who has an address at Elderwood Park, Boreen Manor Road, receive any necessary medical attention while in custody because she is 4.5 months pregnant. Judge Mary Dorgan remanded her in custody until the 26th of August next. Members of Santina Cawley's family, including her mother, were in court today.
The High Court has granted Ryanair an injunction to stop this week's strikes by 180 Dublin-based pilots. It means members of the Irish Airline Pilots Association, which is part of FORSA, won't be able to start their 48-hour walkout at midnight tonight. Ryanair's welcomed the ruling and says it'll come as a huge relief to thousands of passengers. The airline's also calling on FORSA to return to mediation talks to resolve the row over pay and conditions. Bernard Harbour from the union has been speaking outside court.
We're going to consider the ruling in detail and consult again with our legal team, but clearly I suppose the most important message for people out there is that the strikes due for tomorrow and Friday are not now going to happen.
Waterford Junior Minister John Halligan says the school transport system is creaking. Thousands of students will not get a bus place for the year ahead due to the shortage of places. The concessionary children are pupils who get a seat on a bus even if they're not eligible because there's a vacant space. John Halligan's the Minister for Training and Skills. He spoke to Maria McCann on Daisha today.
Every year the scheme is creaking because we require more money, because there are more eligible children coming into the scheme. There are more special needs coming into the scheme, which accounts for over 50% of the budget. And then, of course, we have more concessionaries.
He explains where the difficulty is.
Right now, today, all eligible children have school transport or they have a rural grant. All special needs children are covered. My problem is, right around the country, is concessionary children who are not eligible at to try and get them on buses. And that's where the difficulty is.
Fianna Fáil TD Mary Butler says the problems at the Department of Education are completely inflexible on this.
The department officials told me that the criteria is stringent, it's rigid and there's no movement on it. And when I spoke to Bus Air and the official told me their hands are tied, they have to adhere to the strict terms and conditions set out by the department. The problem is well known within the department and it is completely inflexible. We have tried to instigate this change over the last 2 years and we're promised every year that change will come, but it doesn't. It's the same situation every year.
The President of the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association, Waterford's Edmund Phelan, has urged beef farmers to be patient. It comes after talks in the long-running dispute came to an end last night with agreements reached on a number of issues. Agriculture Minister Michael Creed says the talks with beef stakeholders successfully concluded. However, an agreement was not reached in relation to beef price increases. Edmund Phelan was at the talks.
On the face of it, disappointing. There was some progress made. But it's very strange when you go in and try to talk about saving the whole agriculture and beef section and you can't talk about price. It's sort of a form of lunacy, but we are where we are. But there are some positives there. There is a review of the beef pricing grid. That's just the way cattle are paid to different grades of animals. So we're hoping that the better quality animals will get a better bonus.
He had this to say to farmers locally.
I would ask people to be patient because the bigger part now will be the review of the grid of the pricing structure. So that's going to take place in about 6 weeks' time, hopefully. And We hope that this will reward the better quality carcasses. It does nothing for the overall price, but it may give us a small amount.
Waterford Council says it's working to secure emergency accommodation outside of the city. Currently, people who find themselves homeless have to travel to Waterford City to avail of the services. Sinn Féin's Conor McGuinness says it can be really distressing for those involved.
They're removed from their hometown, from their area, their support networks, perhaps family members who help with childminding, part-time jobs, full-time jobs, their children's schools, creches, other supports that they may need in terms of health or mental health, and they don't know how long they're going to be in emergency accommodation for. Is it within the gift of the council to provide for emergency accommodation outside of Waterford City to people whose domicile, whose children are in school outside of Waterford City?
Director of Services with responsibility for housing is Ivan Grimes.
This has been an issue we've been trying to address. We're currently finalising new arrangements with our homeless service partners, their Focus Ireland and South East Simon, about putting in place emergency accommodation options for families outside of Waterford City, and I'd hope they'll be in place relatively soon.
Technology or trusted trader schemes can't replace the backstop, according to the Minister for European Affairs. Helen McEntee's comments come as Boris Johnson meets with EU leaders ahead of this weekend's G7 summit. The British Prime Minister has this week reiterated that the backstop must be removed from the Brexit withdrawal agreement. However, the EU rejected his calls as there are no realistic alternatives. Minister Helen McEntee says the backstop is the only way a hard border can be avoided.
Any suggestions that we can have some sort of trusted trader scheme, that we can have a technological solution, again, they simply don't work, and they have actually, saying that they haven't been put forward, they haven't been tested, they have been looked at over the past 3 years by both the UK and the EU in the absence of, I suppose, knowing what kind of a future relationship we'll have. The backstop is the one way that we can deal with all of these commitments that have been made.
A series of concerts and events are continuing this week in Waterford for the first time under a big tent. Big Top Live is running at the Gasworks site at Waterside. Tonight is the turn of Keith Barry. Bingo Loco take to the stage on Friday, followed by the Happy Mondays on Saturday. Neil Kelly is the promoter for Big Top Live.
Everything we've done so far, the only thing that we haven't gotten from Waterford is our tent, which no one had. So everything else is through Clem Jacob and local suppliers, and everything has been brought in. And it's all local people running this. So, look, the big thing I will always say to people in Waterford is don't wait till the last minute. Get out there and support local events and get out and support big events.
And temperatures throughout the country are expected to climb into the mid-20s over the weekend. The dry and warm conditions are expected to last until Tuesday. Sunday's likely to be the warmest day, with sunny spells and temperatures expected to reach up to 24 degrees. Forecaster Clara Finkele says the weather is going to pick up just in time for the weekend.
Friday will be a mostly dry day. We're looking at 19 to 23 degrees. Few sunny spells, but maybe a bit duller in the west. And then Saturday will be a bit duller. Some outbreaks of showery rain maybe, but temperatures 20 to 23 degrees, so quite warm. And then Sunday will be even warmer, so we're looking at 20 to 24 degrees.
WLR Sport.
Starting with Gaelic Games, and former Waterford hurler Stephen Frampton and Tom Feeney will be part of a 5-man selection committee to find a new Waterford manager. Pádraig Fanning stepped down for personal reasons earlier this month after just one season in charge. Founder and Chief Executive of Nemeton TV, Ariel McMurricu, County Secretary Pat Flynn and Vice Chairman Sean Michael O'Regan will also sit on the panel. It was ratified by delegates at last night's County Board meeting in Dungarvan. Chairman Paddy Joe Ryan believes the committee will find the right candidate.
We have two from the County Board, which are our CEO Pat Flynn and our Vice Chairman Sean. We have two former hurlers, very high profile, absolutely brilliant hurlers, Tom Feeney of Ballyduff and Stephen Frampton of Ballygunner. The final piece in the jigsaw is Ariel O'Regan from Ring, who's top man in Nemeton. He's very experienced at hiring people and getting the best people for positions. He's a proven track record, and we're hoping, that 5-man committee will steer us in the right direction and that we'll get our manager up and running for 2020 as soon as we possibly can.
The County Senior Hurling Championship will gather pace this weekend with 4 vital playoff games down for decision. Gavin Whelan has the details.
It's down to the business end in the County Senior Hurling Championship this weekend with 4 playoff games down for decision. Fairfield stages a double bill on Saturday evening. It's underway at 6 p.m, where Roanmore will be fancied to account for Ballyduff Upper. That'll be followed at 7:30 by what's being billed to be the game of the weekend between Tallow and Passage. 2 games down for decision on Sunday afternoon. It's an all-Eastern affair in Welsh Park at 2:30 as Mount Sion and Clonea go head-to-head, while the weekend action concludes Sunday evening in Fairfield. It's a 7 o'clock throw-in for the all-Western encounter between Dungarvan and 4 Mile Water. Gavin Whelan, WLR Sport.
In soccer, there's 2 games in the Waterford Premier League this evening. Waterford Crystal host Tramore Rangers and Southend United welcome Tramore FC to their ground. Both matches kick off at 6:30. There were wins for Ballinroad, the Villa and Ferrybank last night. In rugby, Joe Schmidt will reveal his team later ahead of Saturday's World Cup warm-up match against England at Twickenham. Leinster's Ross Burns expected to get the chance to impress at out-half, with Ireland likely to take 3 number 10s to Japan. Johnny Sexton sat out yesterday's training session in Portugal with soreness, along with Robbie Henshaw, Keith Earls and James Ryan. To show jumping, were after the dressage team seal their places at next year's Olympics yesterday. Ireland's show jumping team begin their bid to qualify for Tokyo today. Waterford's Peter Maloney, Cian O'Connor, Shane Sweetenham and Derek Kenny represent the European champions at the Olympic qualifier in Rotterdam. 3 Olympic spots will be decided over the next 3 days. And in golf, Faith Legg have won the Munster finals of the Irish Junior Foursomes. The Waterford club will now compete in next month's All-Ireland finals as Munster champions. They beat Lee Valley in the semi-final and Kilrush in the final at Clonmel Golf Club. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at 2.